As I stand here tonight, I am happy to report that the state of the territory is stronger than ever and only getting stronger.
Greetings and welcome to Season 3 of the Pressbox. I am Lieutenant Governor Tregenza Roach, and this afternoon we're joined by the Honorable Governor Albert Bryan, where we will have a discussion, a conversation around the State of the Territory address given last evening. Before we do, however, we really would like to tell you how much we appreciate your patronage to the point where we had 200,000 views in the last 2 seasons. So please continue to join us as we engage you in future episodes. Governor Bryan.
Good afternoon, sir. How are you?
I am well. How are you doing?
Good, good.
Welcome to the Press Box.
Thank you. Glad to be here.
So we've looked at the questions that have been posted on Facebook and other media since the State of the Territory address, and one thing people inquire about is the theme. You used 3 words, I think. Stronger than ever. Tell us a little bit about.
We went back and forth on this and what we would theme, because everyone has a theme, and I've sat through 8 of these and stood through 4. Mm-hmm. And the one thing that is pervasive in this is that we are really doing well. So much that I think people don't even want to acknowledge it. And that's why we pointed out all of the different things last night, that all these indicators that our economy is doing well, people have jobs, we actually have labor shortages, lots of aid coming in, whether personal, business, tourism. Just wanted to highlight for a fact and really make people take note of the opportunities that are out there, because if you're not getting in on those opportunities, there's something wrong. There must be something that you need to connect to. Mm-hmm. And the one thing that I want to say is that the strength of our economy is snowballing. So it will get greater and greater, just like I talk about the momentum of the administration over the last 3 years. The recovery projects are just starting to really flow. When you think about having $9.5 billion, that means that we have, even if we spend $500 million a year, we would still have to spend for 15 or so years in order to get that money spent, almost 20 years. Yeah. And we're going to try to spend it as fast as possible, but there's only so much people to work, only so much roads for pavers to pave roads, only so much places for people to live. So we need every single person to participate.
So that's really a good point for where the conversation can diverge into a couple of areas. So you grouped the information that you presented about the health of the territory into 3 basic areas. So it's people, infrastructure, and future. So we're going to kind of try to follow a roadmap looking at that, right? So pretty much, as you talked about people, one of the big issues coming to mind is our government employees' retirement system, GERS. And there's been this metaphor for the action that we have taken or not taken on GERS of kicking the can down the road. Now, I always thought kicking the can down the road was a good thing, because at least you're moving the can.
Right.
But last night you talked about crushing the can.
Yeah.
So expand on that a little for us.
So, we've been working on this from before the election, because I could still remember going to the GRS roundtable with Austin Nibbs back in 2017. And I tell you, I was listening to how bad the system was. He had one on each island, and in those days we met in person. And I was looking at my peers and looking at the worry on their faces. These are people who are active workers mostly at there.
Of course.
And planning to retire within the next 10 or 15 years. And I looked at the worry on their face and I said, this thing is really serious. Now, I'm not vested in the government. So I went home and I really thought about this, and when we began to run, people said, you're crazy trying to create a plan to fix the GRS. That's like campaign kiss of death. But this is a real problem that we had to face. So we went to the legislature 3 times with a refinancing of the outstanding bonds in order to create some funding streams. And the first one was, okay.
This is in 2020, right?
This is in 2020. Okay. We went 3 times. The first one was approved. We got that one through, but we ran out of time. So we went back 2 more times, and it was denied. And it met a lot of resistance, which was puzzling because no one else had a real solution or even an attempt at a solution. So we decided, we listened to what the legislature said. They said they wanted to work on it together. So we got with their GRS team and we worked on this final approach, which essentially combines the 2 things, what we wanted to do this year and what we could have done in 2020. We were always saying that first we need to refinance the money while the interest rates are low, and then we need to stock some money in order to create a bond that would be able to give the money to GRS. So the way I explain it to people is, we're telling the GRS, it's almost like we're taking a loan from the GRS, right? For, let's say it's $2.5 billion. And then we're giving the GRS the IOU. So every year we will pay $40, $50, $60 million, depending on the timing, because it's staggered throughout the years, for 30 years. At the end of this, we would have paid $4.5 billion into the GRS. The beautiful thing in how this is designed, it would be just as if GRS had took $2 billion and invested it in something that gave a sure rate of return. So the rate of return on this is like 6%, right? So the GRS, we're guaranteeing that they're going to get a 6% return on their money every single year. Now, it sounds like a lot of money to contribute, but if you think about last year, the budget went up almost $80 million. And for us to be able to do this, it'll only be $40 million. So I'm really excited about it, and we did a lot of work with the legislature, Washington people and stuff. So I'm hoping to see it pass.
Well, the conversations when it were first submitted were very important. The big thing then was really taking advantage of the market, the interest rates. Puerto Rico had done something similar. They capitalized on it. So
you figure on this thing, like every day we wait that we didn't do it, it cost us $109,000.
Amazing.
It's running. That's running. That bill is running.
Well, we know we're going to come back to that on some other occasions, but the theme of supporting GRS, which contributes so much to our economy in terms of the monies that come out to support businesses, etc., is just as important as what has happened to our economy with the stimulus payments, the earned income credit legislation that we're talking about. Share a few thoughts on that as well.
So it's all a piece of it, right? I mean, let's think about the GRS first, so we started there, like 17,500 people or thereabouts between everybody who is retired and everybody who's working now. If you just simply multiply that by 2, right, which is 35,000 people, the census says we only have 87,000 people. That's already 40% of the people. Think about the cash that's spent, rent, people buying food and groceries. But most importantly, I think about health insurance. If we didn't have that, earned income tax credit. One of the things that you and I talk about a lot is, how do we get people out of poverty? And the stuff that you've done around financing the free education at the university is huge there. All the workforce development stuff that we're doing now, doing the things around education to strengthen knowledge and giving people skills. The earned income tax credit is that extra money that we give back to people, right, that they actually haven't earned. It was instituted by the federal government. Obama spoke about it a lot, how this is an opportunity, because when you don't have money, I don't know how it was when you were growing up. It's probably the same. I remember running down to Roosevelt Grocery, and my grandmother would give me a list, and then they would write it in a book until the end of the month. When you're living in a situation where you don't have free-flowing credit and you don't have the opportunity to do that, like Your car breaks down, $400, you out of luck.
You better come up with it. Yeah.
And these checks that come back, the tax checks, those things help buffer those kinds of incidents. And one lady called me, she said, you know, I was finally able to buy my daughter a car. Now she don't have to catch a bus down to the university and come back in the middle of the night. You know, just the little things that you help people to get a little leg up in the world.
Yes.
You know.
Now, in line with that, we've had conversations as well about money the government owes. We talk about payments that we've made and money the government owes to people. And I worked as the legal counsel to the Department of Education from 1995 to 2003. And all that time, we were talking about this retroactive debt of public employees that the government owes to public employees. And you and I have talked about how to approach it. I think people are also excited. I think they got 16% back in 2010.
Right.
I think it was.
17%.
17% in 2010. So now we're talking about giving another payment on that retroactive debt. I think people want to hear about that some more as well.
And you know, I get an email almost weekly from Mary. Thank you, Mary. Mary's about the retro pay. And I promised the retirees, because they have a big group that emails me back and forth, that, you know, as soon as we saw clear of the taxes, the 8%, and now this GRS, that we want to address this now. I mean, I think it's just, I'm just tickled that it's almost miraculous that we are finally going to pay this after 30 years. And, you know, the approach is to pay at least 15% or 25 million every year. And people are asking like, well, how are you going to do that? And, you know, there were no details and no specifics. I think we have a good track record of keeping our promises, right? Nobody believed the 8% when we said we're going to do that, right? But remember, we paid out $100 million in taxes last year. Next year, we're not going to have to pay $100 million because we're going to catch up. So now we have a little bit of money to pay the GRS bonding issue that we want to do. That's another 40 or so million. And we have enough money to pay this 25 million to the retirees, at least 25. If we see the way to pay more, we pay more. But I've made a commitment, and I hope the Senate, you know, honors the commitment.
And it's really significant because the reality is that people who this money has been owed to have passed.
Right.
And we certainly want to make an impact now that we still are able to with regard to it. So people are going to be looking forward to it. But I think this is a good place for us to take a short break. We're going to go to commercial. So please stay with us and return when we come back. We look forward to seeing you again. Thank you.
This proposal doesn't kick the can down the road. It crushes the can. It solves the GRS crisis for decades to come.
But what you saying, Jimmy? Me saying a hot minute, you know. We're going to say later, it's been a hot minute for a reason. You want to know something? My mother told me that I can't come out my house because of COVID-19. I know we ain't safe out here for a little bit, but still, you gonna have some fun though. Well, my side can't leave the house unless I'm vaccinated. But you won't scared of the vaccine? Nah, sis. The vaccine's safe.
VIP people, you must stay at work. COVID-19 is not a joke. It's much more than good hygiene. Give your children the vaccine. Education is the golden rule. Children need in-person school. They miss music, dancing and sports. Vaccination is better, not worse.
I want the COVID vaccine. Give me the COVID vaccine. It's safe, mommy. The vaccine safe, safe, safe. I want to see my friends and family. Playing with them makes me happy. It's safe, mommy. The vaccine safe, safe, safe.
Children can become infected, get sick, and spread COVID-19 to others. Widespread vaccination is a critical tool to help stop the pandemic. People who are fully vaccinated can resume activities that they did prior to the pandemic. The MCH division encourages you to get your children ages 12 years and older vaccinated.
I want the COVID vaccine. Give me the COVID vaccine. It's safe, mommy. The vaccine safe, safe, safe.
Brought to you by the Virgin Islands Department of Health MCH program.
Hi, this is your Senator Samuel Carrillo. I am proud to be a Virgin Islander working hard every day to serve you. Because here, we look out for each other. That's why I'm asking you to take Titi Carmen and your primo Jose to get the COVID vaccine. Some say they may ask too many questions. ¿De dónde viene? ¿Cómo llegaste aquí? But that's not true. Only your name, your age, and your phone number. That's it. No ID needed. Así que por favor, vayan a vacunarse para proteger a nuestra gente y a nuestra comunidad.
Conversation with Governor Albert Bryan following the fourth State of the Territory address. So Governor Bryan, the COVID climate has really required us to put an emphasis on care, on the healthcare resources that include people as well as facilities. You reference in the State of the Territory address the work to address the territory's aging hospitals, damaged hospitals, and people are very excited to hear those remarks and wanted to, get further reassurance that we are on track to having those addressed. So speak to that for us.
I had the privilege of touring the completed JFL North facility last year, and that's how long it's been done. In terms of all the equipment and the lighting and the edifice, the building, the main building. And I mean, it is state of the art. And, I was listening to conversations on the radio about having a cruise ship hospital. I think people aren't aware of how much work has actually been completed, and there's just one last piece to go there. And anybody that sees Schneider Regional, when you pass by it, it looks like,
It's okay.
Yeah, the shining glory, but it's like having a Porsche body or a Volkswagen engine. A lot of the inner workings of that building have been tried and tested over the years in several hurricanes. And then these two Cat 5s come, and Darryl Smalls has done, and the team over there have done an incredible job keeping it together. But it still needs a lot of work. Charlotte Kimmelin and Mara Keening are approved for construction now, and we expect to see those start this year. But the real part that I talked about are the people. I mean, we're having a tremendous time keeping nurses, and then now with the vaccine mandate for healthcare that is imposed by the federal government, it's even getting harder to keep nurses there. So what we wanted to do is we wanted to make sure that we're giving our nurses a little bit of boost. So we squared away about $60 million, and this is going to be, I think they get a raise every year of $5,000, and then they get a retention bonus every year as well too, for the nurses that are already on. And then if you're a traveling nurse or you want to join the hospital, And it's not only for nurses, because it's allied health, respiratory therapists, and the like. They also get a bonus. They get the shipping costs paid for to get situated here in the Virgin Islands if you're coming home, or if you're a new resident to the island. So that money is there, but you know, we have union bodies, and when you do funds and you reward unions without really sitting down, you create a lot of problems. We've seen that before with the teachers' contract and the police, when we just the former governor just raised everybody's salary one time. It creates all kinds of problems when you do that. So,
well, I'm really excited about the Cancer Center on St. Thomas and the Cardiac Center on St. Croix, because when we get these hospitals and these centers in tip-top shape, as we expect to do, we can really then have the conversation that we talked about at the beginning of the campaign in 2018 about regional health tourism, and making our facilities open to our neighbors, which again a source of revenue for the territory. So I think that's really exciting.
Oh, it's key. I mean, I think that the healthcare system is a huge part of our whole economic driver, because not only are there a lot of people work there, I think each hospital employs about 500 people, but if you want a vacation, you don't want a vacation at a place that doesn't have a hospital. Building these new facilities with state-of-the-art equipment also helps us, because doctors want to work in nice facilities. Nurses want to work in nice facilities. And you know, it's bad enough you have a high cost of living here, the rent is high and everything. But if you come and your facilities ain't up to par, you don't have the equipment, you not only don't feel good about it, but you put your license at risk, because if something doesn't work, or because of some equipment failure, or something you don't have, it's your license that's on the line. There's no comeback from a fatality. So there's a lot of things riding on there. We hope that we are attracting more physicians, more allied health, more EMTs and paramedics. We need them too to come to the Virgin Islands and make a living.
And you know, health facilities are really, they comprise one of those pillars that people look at when they talk about the quality of life where they live, or in an area where they're kind of going to. The other is energy. And that big four-letter thing that we have that's called WAPA, but in the burger from the you know, and people are exhausted, and people are tired of the conversation about reliable power. And I thought the exciting parts of renewable energy and some of these new generators and backup for St. John were really good news. But WAPA is always a difficult conversation, because it's hard to kind of get public buy-in.
Well, it's like Crips and Bloods, man. It's like a long feuding war between the community and WAPA, and you know, they don't want to hear it. Let me tell you, when when I'm in those conversations, you know, expletives are a nice word, but I get really frustrated myself with some of the things you hear. Constantly expanding timelines, you know, or you're going to get it in September. Okay, September is next year, September. When that September comes, they said, no, we meant 23, or we meant 24. And it's like, okay, we're running out of time here. And of course, there's been delays with COVID, but you know, the one thing I always talk to the management is, says, you guys are really out of your timelines now. I can't count on any deliverable that you say. And if you pay attention to me, I'm very careful about giving deliverables to WAPA. But we got a new manager, a new chief executive officer, Andy Smith, and Andy's a smart guy. Not only is he a smart guy, but he's a people person, because when I spoke to him after, when they got it down to 2 people, I spoke to both candidates, and the thing that struck me with this guy was he talked about the employees at WAPA, how smart they were, and how they weren't being heard. And he said, whether you use someone's idea, yes or no, it's important that they understand that you are listening to them, and they are being considered, and they are valued. So there's a lot of people with ideas and opinions down at WAPA, and I hope he listens to them, and then the board listens to Andy, because we spent a bit amount of money to get a good turnaround CEO who is used to dealing with financial matters as well as reliability and transmission. And you don't hire somebody like that and tell them what to do. You kind of listen and do what they tell you to do and try to support that mission. So I'm wishing him a lot of luck. But in the meantime, I think it's only fair that we give residents an opportunity to come off the grid and join the Solar Nation. So we're setting up a loan program that allows residents to borrow at 1% interest. So you would have, the way that I worked this out when I thought about it was, if you had a $25,000 system you had a reasonably sized house, your light bill would probably be like $400, $350, $400 a month. If you amortize that $25,000 to pay for that system over 8 years, it comes out to about $200 a month. So your light bill automatically is cut in half, and then you know what it's going to be for the next 8 years. At the end of that 8 years, you're done. You don't pay a light bill anymore, but you pay a service fee to the utility for being connected to the grid, for getting them to come out and check your solar power and everything. The beauty in this is it's also a job creation. So you have to get a workforce now to put in all of these new solar systems, because I did the math at 1,000 solar system would mean we'd have to put in about 80 a month. That's 20 a week. That's a real fast clip, and to keep up with. So you need people for that. And then buying that much solar at one time starts to bring down the price of solar here in the Virgin Islands. I think it's a win-win-win. And then WAPA gets that money. We're trying to do 25 million every year. So we figured out a way to do this year. Next year, we're looking to see if we could get some funds to help more people get off. But WAPA has to become a renewable company. I mean, that's the only way. If you think about that, like our fuel bill during the Great Recession, when it was 53 cents a kilowatt hours, with $240 million a year of Virgin Islands dollars just gone. You know, that hurts. That hurts.
Okay, good. We're going to segue a little now into the third pillar that a lot of people look at, and that is the quality of schooling for children and even for older persons in the community. We're excited that even though we see these decline in the numbers of COVID cases, we're still mindful that we're in this pandemic, but our children have returned to school.
I know it's funny now. People are like, "Oh, it's only 700 cases." Remember when 700 had been a total nightmare, you know?
We've had
now,
39.
like it's not 3,000 anymore. You know, it's 700.
Right. And of course, with that, the announcements in the state of the territory about new schools.
Right.
We were both at the Wheatley Center when that opened last year. Had a chance to tour the classroom.
Beautiful.
With Principal Petros and the commissioner. And beautiful facility, and happy to know that it's a prototype, that all of our students throughout St. John and St. Croix and St. Thomas will be able to have their education in facilities like this.
This is going to be beautiful. I mean, you know, it's a lot of hard work to get there, and you know, education spent a lot of time creating the standards of what the school should look like, and then we had to fight with FEMA to get the first school, but the first school creates an avalanche of construction and activity, because now we don't have to fight as hard. So I think the schools that are going to get redesigned or replaced, the first 5 are Charlotte Amalie, BCB,
Arthur Richards,
Julius Sproul,
Arthur Richards, right?
Arthur Richards, and of course, there's one more. Who am I forgetting? BCB.
BCB.
They're going to get some redesign there, because it's going to become a K through 8 now instead of just a 6 through 8. So we got a lot of things going on. These are type of opportunities that I'm talking about. When I say stronger than ever, I mean, you know, during the pandemic, I saw for the first time help wanted signs everywhere in the Virgin Islands. I've never seen that before. Usually I cover the paper or everything. Just think, right? If we're going to build 2 brand new hospitals in both districts, the hospital that we're building is going to be twice the size of what we have now. So you're going to need more employees for that. Then we're going to be building. We didn't talk about last night. 2 skilled nursing facilities. Right now, the nurses that work at the hospital moonlight at Herbert Grigg and Queen Louise in the evening. We're building 2 new 70-bed skilled nursing facilities, 1 in each district again. And then we're even looking at to see how we could do some assisted living in St. John. You got to think, where do all these people come from?
True.
How do we get all of these people and all these nurses in there? We have a nursing shortage now, and we're doubling the size of our healthcare system. East End is building a new building. Frederickstead Community Health continues to expand and do their things. And people are getting older. So there's going to be this need. I mean, right now, where do you put your parent if you have Alzheimer's or anything? Aging is a very huge topic for us, and being able to manage that as we move forward with our workforce.
Okay. No, I think we need to give some special assurances to our St. Jonian residents, because they are distinguished in the territory as really the only ones who might have to take a boat if they're not feeling well or need urgent care at some point to take a boat to come to St. Thomas. So you shared information as well about Myra Keating and the expansion of it, and I think that's good news for our St. Jonian population. Any thoughts on that?
Yeah, Myra Keating is almost complete. There was a lot of discussion. There's a group in St. John that was talking about moving Myra Keating into Cruz Bay. To me, that will only delay the level of service, and the thought there was you'd be closer to town if you had an emergency. But I think Myra Keating is supremely located for the residents at Coral Bay as well as the residents for Cruz Bay. No matter where you live, it's in a point. And if you get there, or when you get there, there's a helipad there as well too. And that facility is being designed right now. And one of the things that I told the hospital is, why not put in temporary offices there? Because this facility was always too big for St. John. Most of it was underutilized. So put in temporary offices so specialists can go up to St. John and have an office bay to use at the clinic. That would avail more services to our St. Jonians, maybe even put in a dentist chair in one. So you can, because some of our physicians have offices over there, but they have to travel back and forth, and like a square foot of rent in St. John is like $400. So having a facility where you can access healthcare is important now. Morris de Castro, people forget about that in Cruz Bay. We're also going to do some repairs to that piece as well. We didn't talk about last night that we opened a battery last year over in St. John. We did talk about extensive road work that we're doing over in Maho, down by Inepa and Center Line, and definitely in Coral Bay. And then that 8 Tough Miles, Center Line Road, so Tough Miles to pave too. We've dedicated a considerable amount of money to doing that. So we haven't been ignoring St. John. It's just like when we go St. John with the pavers, we're going to be there for a minute. So we're supposed to be starting either February or March. St. Jonians, just look out, you're going to have a lot of asphalt. As a matter of fact, it'll be raining asphalt all over the Virgin Islands.
Raining asphalt. I'm not sure about them. I'm not sure that's the kind of rain I want. But we're going to take all the positive vibe, and we're going to go to our next commercial break. Please come back and join us in a few.
With these funds, last year we completed road projects on Garden Street, Princess Garda, Estate Miss Gunston, Lurkenlund, Hospital Ground, Estate Lorraine, St. George, Campo Rico, Bugby Hole, Wim, Work and Rest, Catherine Rest, Union Mount Washington, Mount Pleasant East, and Strawberry Hill.
Has the COVID pandemic caused you to fall behind on your rent? What about your electric or water bills? Well, VIHFA's Emergency Rental Assistance Program is here to help you catch up. For program details and qualifications, go to VIHFA and click on the ERAP link. From there, it's just 3 steps. 1. Make sure you are eligible. Have you lost income due to COVID-19, owe at least 1 month of rent or utilities, and meet the federal household income guidelines for your island? 2. Gather all the required ID and documentation for all members of your household, plus statements from your landlord or utility company. 3. Submit your application online at vihfa.gov or call one of the intake centers on your island to make an appointment to apply in person. For more details and locations of the intake centers, please visit vihfa.gov.
Oh, you mean you wash your hands? Hey, you violent, my boy. Well, every time that you get touched, you have to wash up your hands. Put on your mask, practice some distance, stop spread corona. Like, it's Adamo. And on behalf of the Virgin Islands Department of Health, hold it down on all the mass gatherings. Wearing a mask not only protects you, but it protects your loved ones and your community. Like, help stop the spread corona.
But what you saying, Jimmy? Me saying a hot minute, you know. We're going on today, it's been a hot minute for real. You wanna know something? My mother told me that I can't come out my house for the COVID-19. I know we ain't safe out there for a little bit, but still, you wanna have some fun though? Well, my side can't leave the house unless I'm vaccinated. But you won't scared of the vaccine? Nah, sis, the vaccine's safe.
VIP people, you must stay at work. COVID-19 is not a joke. It's much more than good hygiene. Give your children the vaccine. Education is the golden rule. Children need in-person school. They miss music, dancing and sports. Vaccination is better, not worse.
I want a COVID vaccine. Give me the COVID vaccine. It's safe, mommy. The vaccine safe, safe, safe. I want to see my friends and family. Playing with them makes me happy. It's safe, mommy. The vaccine safe, safe, safe.
Children can become infected, get sick, and spread COVID-19 to others. Widespread vaccination is a critical tool to help stop the pandemic. People who are fully vaccinated can resume activities that they did prior to the pandemic. The MCH division encourages you to get your children ages 12 years and older vaccinated.
I want a COVID vaccine. Give me the COVID vaccine. It's safe, mommy. The vaccine safe, safe, safe.
Brought to you by the Virgin Islands Department of Health MCH program.
Welcome back to our conversation with the Honorable Governor Albert Bryan following the State of the Territory address. And just in case you're wondering about where this conversation is taking place, the renovations at Government House St. Thomas are complete. And in a few days, you'll be hearing about a formal open house. So this is where we are, and it's wonderful to be back in Government House after all these years. And from that, I have to go into a not so pleasant conversation about housing, because this is the one I get a lot of complaints about.
A lot.
And particularly about the Envision program. People just feel they have been waiting interminably to get information about what's happening with their homes, their applications, etc. And I wanted us to talk a little bit about that because people hear about the funding that's available. And so it's kind of like, if the money is there, why am I here waiting? So what would we say to them?
I hate excuses, man. Like I said last night, it's piss poor. That's what I think about this program. But the one thing I will say is doing up getting this program underway, these were the homes that could not be repaired. Like, you just couldn't put on the roof. So just to understand what type of problems it is in trying to service some of these things is, in the new building code, exterior walls can't be 6 inches. Now, everybody built with 6-inch block back in the day. The code changed somewhere around 89, right after Hurricane Hugo. I think either 89 or 96, after Hurricane Hugo, Maryland. People ask me how I know this. I know because I was one of the people who were pissed that I had to put up 8-inch blocks around my house. It's more expensive, it takes more concrete, your bomb beam is thicker. And when we were building, we had to do it. So now imagine 90% of the homes that were damaged were built before the building code change. So if you have a 6-inch block on your house and I gotta put back on your roof, I gotta tear down your entire house. I gotta take down all the interior wall, all the walls, because now we need to be able to tie that steel from your bond beam all the way up. When they hired this company to go and do these assessments, they're used to the stateside houses. They don't understand about how we build down here and how it has to be constructed to the code. So a lot of what they thought they got in the original assessment was incorrect. So now what we're doing is, and we're putting out the houses at 200 houses at a lake. That's another piece of it where, you know, in our own wisdom, we were thinking, well, let's give as much small contractors jobs as possible. This is a good stream for the contractors. But it doesn't work for them because with the federal requirements and the rules and the regulation, it takes so long for them to get paid. We bankrupt the people. So that didn't work out well either. So we decided to send them out now 200 homes at a time. 200 homes already went out. They have a contractor already on the job and they're starting those. And then the next 200 should go out within the next 2 months or so. And then this year they're going to start actual construction on at least 200. But once again, we go back to population and workforce. How many homes can you build in the Virgin Islands at one time?
True.
When you have the Marriott building, the refinery is about to reopen back up, you have all the construction going on with the schools, you have the airports under construction. Where do you find the workforce? Oh, we bring them in. Where are they going to stay? Our tourism is back now. The Airbnbs are full of people, rent is through the roof. So it's a real conundrum in trying to get these things done. But I'm looking forward to getting this done. And getting, like, I'm really interested in building new homes. I mean, most of these are new homes we're going to build anyway, but they're on people's property. And it's unlike you building a Tutu. If you're building a Tutu, a Hidden Valley, or a Strawberry, you're building the same house 300 times. You could buy in bulk, you know what you're going to do. Every single house that we have, everybody got a different plan, different age of the home, a different person did the construction. And once you start knocking on walls, Lord knows all the kind of stuff you get into. But it's $250,000 of free federal money to help you build your home. So I want to see it happen. I really want to get through it. So we you know, I keep my foot on the housing authority's neck trying to do this. But they're also the one with the rental program. You know, I've been with them pushing that along. I think we're up to about 200 applications now that have been processed under that program. Like, landlords need the rent.
Sure.
These are, you know, the one thing I could say about the government employees and government leadership, we want to take on everything ourselves. We're so accustomed to government control. We can't do it. We have to partner with consultants and contractors and let other people do the work and just pay them. Because when you talk about a small agency like Housing Finance Authority that has, they have a rental program now, rehabilitation, for landlords, right? That up to $50,000 per unit. Then they have the roofing program, that's up to $250,000 per unit. Then they have another program to build 300 new homes. Then they have the mortgage rebate where you get your mortgage paid for you if you were affected by COVID. Then they have the rental one for COVID. You have all of this emergency money coming in because it's emergency money for the same staff.
Managing all of it.
It is a tremendous job. And the one thing I think people don't understand about you and I, John, you know, governors in the states don't have to deal with this stuff because all of this stuff is run by mayors in counties. They don't, and cities. All the state does is give them the money, and then they do it. But we have to do everything that the mayor does as well as the governor. As a matter of fact, you know, next week we're going to the National Governors Association. Actually, Friday we're going to be there. I have more in common with the mayors. The governors don't deal with streets and roads and all those kinds of things.
Exactly the same.
So there's the good thing about here is that we don't have a lot of levels of government. The bad thing is we don't have a lot of levels of government. So the central government is forced to take on all these tasks that would have been done by city and town councils.
True. And I find the same exact circumstances when I meet with the lieutenant governors in the states as well. But I'm glad that we were still able to talk about in this speech some of the positive accomplishments, the new housing opportunities that are available, which is all wonderful, and the thoughts about first-time home buyer programs, which the territory is lacking.
You know, the Megan's Bay and the Dunu projects in St. Thomas, you know, those units, the Dunu project is like almost $600,000 or more per unit that we're investing in doing those. And, you know, I really have a home ownership push. Like I said, I built my own house. I tied all the steel in it, right? And I think the way to keep young Virgin Islanders is for us to give them a home. But in good conscience, when we send out the bid and we're getting $450,000 for a 1,200 square foot home, like, that's a strap-on that's going to kill somebody. Exactly. You know, the people who are looking for homes cannot afford a mortgage of $450,000. So even if we buy it down, we pay $100,000 in a mortgage, it goes to $350,000. It's a 1,200 square foot house. Still. You know. Yeah.
The state of the territory couldn't possibly contain everything, the accomplishments or the projects that are to be undertaken. But there were a couple of points that I think needed to be shared, and I wanted to share from the perspective of my office that we're excited about some opportunities we're going to be seeing in the St. Croix district, moving some of our offices, acquiring property
we didn't talk
in
about
St. Croix to do that. You know, every real estate transaction that's conducted in the territory touches the office of the Lieutenant Governor. This year we're undertaking online recording of deeds.
Nice.
That's going to be a feature that really transforms
when is that going to be
our economy.
Active? June,
well,
right?
we are contracting hopefully by mid-year. Wow. We might be seeing that. Don't hold me to it yet. But, that is on the agenda, as well as I continue to talk about the insurance climate changing with our accreditation now extended for the full 5-year period. By the National Association of Insurance Commissioners. Now, there's so many other things to report on, but I think one of the key pieces that I recall seeing commentary about on the internet was the lack of any references to agriculture in the territory. I think one of the senators made a comparison in terms of remarks made in the last state of the territory about food security and why it's important to encourage food production and support food production in the territory. So could you speak to that to kind of address the concerns?
You know, there we have, and I want to say this for the record, is like we have more accomplishments that were not in the state of the territory than were in the state of the territory. And we just had to leave stuff out. And if we talked about it last year, we didn't want to talk about it again. We wanted to add some different things. But you know, the staples are there: crime, education, home ownership, economy. Those things people want to hear about. But we actually have set aside $10 million for agriculture. We've been meeting with the farmers. There's actually an agricultural plan. We didn't talk about that. That the university, Dr. Hall sent me a copy, and he wants to start talking about it now, but it is complete. It was done with a collaboration of farmers and community people about what we're going to do with agriculture. You know, part of the Vision 2040 is to increase food production in the Virgin Islands. So this $10 million, some of the things that we're going to do, we're bringing water now to our Bodo farmers. After so many years of talking about it, we actually have set aside the money to do with it, and we're getting with WAPA to see what's the best way to do it, whether to put a RO plant in Bodo and pump water up the hill, or just extend the piping all the way to Bodo. We have the same for Centerline farmers. We're going to invest. We're working with the EDA and the Farmers in Action to start an agribusiness center right there in Bethlehem. We want to be able to put a whole solar array in there in order to be able to get farmers going. Then we're going to set up about a $3 million fund, because USDA has great grants and benefits, but you actually have to spend the money and then you get reimbursed. So we're setting aside some money so farmers can be able to loan money. And then when they get paid back, then they reimburse the loan. So it's a good, we already have the Farmers and Fishermen loan. It's about $50,000 at the EDA. We want to expand those to at least go up to $100,000 so we could start to get some of that Fed money in here. And those are just some of the kind of things. The Commissioner of Agriculture, Terrence Positive Nelson, has a great market that runs every Saturday. It is grown. It's at the agricultural station. They have already fixed all of their buildings now. They still have the last one to do in the main office that is still left to be done. But the fairgrounds are back intact now in St. Croix. So there's a lot going on in agriculture we just didn't speak about.
Well, I'm excited to hear that, and I'm going to, I think one of the things that I want us to see us really consider is that during the pandemic, when we talked about monies that were specifically available to fishermen, farmers, small businesses.
We didn't talk about that.
My office actually assisted farmers in completing the applications. And now when we're talking about loans and so forth, I think we need to recognize that some of them are going to need administrative support in completing some of these processes, et cetera, because we really want to maximize the reach of any funding that's available. So
that's
exciting.
The agribusiness center is going to try to do stuff like that. I think you were in the legislature when Janet Millen Young passed.
And the business incubator at EDA.
So all of that is coming
together. EDA talked about processing,
the industrial kitchens. We're going to be building those. We're looking the Marcelli School. EDA is cleaning that up right now. We want to put a nice industrial kitchen down there. I was touring that the other day. There's so much that wasn't in there that we left outside. I think it's your building, the new building in Christians that you alluded to that we're purchasing. That's huge. You're going to have your own office down there. That's going to be nice. And a couple other purchases we're making in terms of property, and then the Key, the hotel and the Key, that lease is almost complete now. There's going to be a new hotel over there. We're selling King's Alley. It's going to be part of King Christian in Christiansted. And there's a new hotel development planned here for Waiko Dock. So lots and lots we didn't talk about.
I wanted to touch a little bit to have you expand on it, because you talked a little about the pieces, and it really has to do with human capital in the territory. We've talked about this brain drain. We talked about what the census has revealed. We talked about needing people in the territory to work. And so a lot of people are thinking about how do we make sure that the people who are here presently, that we maximize the reach. And one of the things I was waiting for you to talk about it, because we've talked about it so many times, are the extensive opportunities we've tried to make for apprenticeships and to bring more young people into the government, just so we know that we are maximizing the population that we do have. So share a little about those ideas.
You know, LT, I think your legislation to provide free college tuition has had the biggest impact on the brain drain of anything that we ever had. When you go to graduation now, you see 60 to 70% of the class that is actually going to UVI instead of going to the States. In preparation for those people to graduate, I think the first class graduates this year, we created the Financial Fellows Program, where we're taking people who come out of school and putting them in a program that rotates them around the financial entities in the government, making $55,000 a year. This is a pilot program to do a broader program where every commissioner will have at least 2 people, 1 on each district, working in and along him, her, and their staff on major stuff, so they understand how government works. At the end of 2 years, they come out of the system, they find a job somewhere or whatever. But what this does is it gets over that thing as you don't have any experience. So immediately Virgin Islanders can take a resume and says, listen, I've worked in the office of Commissioner of Labor, I've been at the Commissioner of OMB, and I've been at the Commissioner of Finance, all within the last year and a half. And that's great resume builder for people. That's coupled with the path that what we're doing in the high schools now, down in Complex, we're trying to actually get a technical college done there. And so for people who aren't necessarily on that college path, you can get a career doing the technical stuff. I worked hard to make sure that we have career and tech schools capability here in this district in St. Thomas and St. John, because the Whitley Skills Center was a little thing. But what we're doing at Kerwin expands that and makes it even bigger with better equipment and stuff. Huge thing for us here in the district. So that takes care of people who don't want to go to college. They can stay at home and learn a trade. Now, the connections come in with, once you got this trade, how do you get it out there? There's $10 million set aside for apprenticeship, on-the-job training for people. And imagine we haven't trouble finding people to sign up for these programs.
Okay.
You get paid while you work. So we're not just saying there's a whole bunch of work to do. We're saying, listen, there's training. And it's not too late because we're going to be working for the next 10, 15 years.
Excellent.
So you get in now. I met a young man the other day, and he's a corrections officer. But he moonlights as a plumber, you know? And I'm saying, I told him, thank you for your service, because the rates what the plumbers make, the correction officers don't make. You know, I mean, we just get them a nice little raise and everything, but you think about the opportunities now for someone like him who learned this skill from his dad, and, you know, encouraging him now to get licensed. You know, I have a friend that is really encouraging him, get your license, get licensed as a plumber, start your construction, your plumbing business, because everybody need a good plumber. Them thing like gold.
That's right.
You know, you don't see no plumbing in the Virgin Islands. You never see a plumbing advertisement in the Virgin Islands. The plumber busy, you don't have to advertise. You know?
So it's wonderful to see the opportunities that we've provided through the free tuition, etc., and how people are making their own. And at that point, we're going to just go to, I think it's the last break of the program. So please continue to stay with us for even more fascinating information from the State of the Territory Address.
And begun the serious work of diversifying our economy and strengthening our private sector. We are laying a solid foundation to our future. See, this is indeed an exciting time to be a Virgin Islander.
Has the COVID pandemic caused you to fall behind on your rent? What about your electric or water bills? Well, VIHFA's Emergency Rental Assistance Program is here to help you catch up. For program details and qualifications, go to VIHFA and click on the ERAP link. From there, it's just 3 steps. 1. Make sure you are eligible. Have you lost income due to COVID-19, owe at least 1 month of rent or utilities, and meet the federal household income guidelines for your island? 2. Gather all the required ID and documentation for all members of your household, plus statements from your landlord or utility company. 3. Submit your application online at vihfa.gov or call one of the intake centers on your island to make an appointment to apply in person. For more details and locations of the intake centers, please visit vihfa.gov.
Welcome back to this last segment in our conversation with Governor Albert Bryan following the State of the Territory Address. So, Governor, we had some fantastic information about numbers. I couldn't believe some of the numbers, even though I hear them all the time. 1 million people completing the travel portal in the last year. People coming to the territory just to get their vaccine. We had done such an incredible job administering the vaccine that people were coming here, paying to stay in villas, staying for the entire period of time to get their 2 shots. That's just fabulous promotion for the territory.
Banner year.
So talk to us about our tourism product. And
you know, that's a golden story, because for the first time we saw a lot of new people come to the territory because they couldn't go to Jamaica, which they go every single year. And they discovered the Virgin Islands. A lot of African American tourists, I was happy about that as well too, seeing people discover us. A lot of movie stars, politicians, everybody came through during the pandemic. So we were dutifully exposed not only to the regular tourists, but to people who had never come to the Virgin Islands before. This year, though, we're expecting a good season already, but we're not resting on our laurels. Imagine the cruise ship passengers that haven't been here for a year. 50% of cruisers cruise already, so most of the people have already been to St. Thomas. When they look off the ship this time, they're going to see something totally new. A beautiful promenade here in Veterans Drive. Frederickstead, there's going to be a new stadium when people come near, and all the things that are happening downtown. We didn't talk about, the whole music lineup that we have planned for Sunset Jazz that we haven't been able to do for 2 years. What we want to do is have world-class acts in Frederickstead. Najee and the Kenny G's and those kind of people, along with our local artists as well too, listening to them. So bringing a whole new dynamic to Freedom City is something that we want to do, as well as a renewed product here in St. Thomas and St. John. The new bathrooms, the new vendors plaza, we didn't talk about that last night. But Joe and his team, I mean, he stays working. We got some new advertising people working with us. Bevan and his team at Marketplace Excellence. They've gotten us on TV everywhere I go. Myself, have done a lot of appearances. Just promoting the Virgin Islands. So I'm expecting great things for our tourism market. Remember, here we go again. The Marriott is closed. We expect to close on a deal for Sugar Bay this month. We didn't talk about that either. The Park Service is getting on with Canal Bay and starting to move that forward. The Marriott employs 400 people. Sugar Bay, 200-300. Canal Bay, 300. All those places need people to work. So when you talk about, once again, population, workforce, opportunity, it's immense. I've actually spoken to restaurateurs that had to close because they don't have people to work.
People to work.
And people are tired. Working that last year, we were going at such a great. That's the first time I heard vendors, business people say, "Thank God the season is done."
It's amazing, but what's exciting as well, as we talked about it during the pandemic, was the return of the yachting industry.
Oh my goodness!
And the blue economy that you made reference to. I think one of the things, though, that people are concerned about is they always want to make sure that our expansion brings opportunity for our people, and how to make sure that our people are involved at every level of this growth. And I think that's going to be our...
So we're offering captain classes and stuff too at Labor too. We have a little bit about that. But I didn't mention last night that last year we not had one, but two major yachting shows within months of one another here in St. Thomas. That's new too. So we had the major yacht show with all the 30, 40, 50, 60, 100-foot yachts that was here. And then we had the regular yacht show that Yacht Haven Grand does. So both of those were here. And next year they're going to be even bigger. We had been working for the last 3 years trying to get the one yacht show here. And we finally got it here. That's huge. When the provisioning is through the roof here, when people have those yachts, they don't, they ain't like me and you, Tregenza. They're not eating corned beef and rice, salchichas, Vienna sausage. The fine wines, champagne, the cheeses. There's good business around provisioning those yachts, and they need a lot of work. So the opportunity, and I can't say it enough, whether you're young or old, it's never too late to learn something.
True.
But there's just so much opportunity out there. And it's not, it don't come knocking on your door. You got to go look for it. You got to go out there. It's not going to be easy. Success is not something that just come out, show up and hug you up. You got to go out there and you got to be aggressive and you got to persist. And all of the cynicism and the pessimism I hear in our community. When you talking to people and they're saying that people have so much food stamp benefits
that they can't deposit
it starts at 10,000
in their account.
The amount of stimulus checks that we have given away and the amount of time people have had to pick up a new trade. There's this thing now called I can't remember the name of it, but it teaches you a trade. It's all these professionals. You can buy into this, and it teaches you how to do everything. But you can do it for free. You go to labor and you get it. But the time is for us, the community, to take advantage of these opportunities. Apply for some of these jobs in the government. I mean, we got like 1,200 vacancies. They're not all posted, but Social workers, huge deficit there. Firemen, we need another 60. Police officer correction, 200-300 people we need there. Nurses and doctors, I can't even count. Teachers, we're short. Project management, engineers. We hire almost every engineer that comes to us, especially civil, just public works, Derek Gabriel. You see how much roads I colored last night?
Absolutely.
Oh my goodness.
Absolutely.
And that's not all, you know. It's like a Ginsu knife commercial, and that's not all.
So I think you know, when you reference the cynicism or different factors that are present, I think what is also probably an indicator is a need in our community for a conversation about growth mindsets and how do you change people's minds or pivot people to see the vast opportunities that are available. I think we're going to be running out of time. I know we could carry on this conversation for at least another 2 hours.
Well, you know when we get together, you know, stop, you know.
But they want us to take another break. Apparently this is a very popular show. They have some commercials in there as well. I'm not going to be demanding any new compensation for it. So please join us when we come back from this break. So, Governor, we're going to start this segment off on a high. Not a literal high, but a cannabis.
that kind of.
See, I got you. So people wanted to know more about cannabis. In fact, when I went out to lunch, I was approached by 2 persons who want to know they have land and they're ready to grow some cannabis. So they were particularly interested in where we are, and to talk about the differences between opportunities with the medicinal industry versus full legalization. So any thoughts you want to share?
Well, the other thing we didn't talk about was hemp. Because we have hemp production in the island. We have licensed hemp people. You know, the other day, Auntie Joan was by me and I give her some of that CBD cream. She said, I don't want to put it in that thing. They're going to make me high. No. They're going to just take the pain away. She's like, oh, this is great, you know. Yeah. But the cannabis is stuck in the legislature. You know, I wish the other day somebody came to me, why don't you just executive order it into place? But, you know, we can't do that.
Not the force of law.
We have to wait on the process. And, you know, I understand the legislators, you know, they want to make sure they do it right. But you can't boil the ocean. You got to give a broad blanket of rules and regulations, and then of the law, and then you give it to the cannabis board. There's a cannabis board, and they'll write all the little regulations
rules and regs
to control all the little things, because this industry is vast. You've been to Denver before.
Yes.
We went last year with the Senate president, and I was just blown away, not only by the cannabis, but all the other parts that support it. Horticulture, attorneys, banking, accounting, inventory, tracking, supply chain management, just a host of other things that have nothing to do. The technology behind growing, grafting, the way that you have to put the lights, you know, it is the cooling of the spaces and stuff is very technical. And then the whole regulatory part, the testing and making sure how rigid the standards are. You know, this ain't your kind of man sort of weed. This is a totally different concept, and people need to get ready. Let me tell you, people need to get ready because it's a highly regulated industry, and you got to have your stuff in order.
Sure.
You know.
And you know, I introduced it with a little joke. People don't think I make jokes, right? But I want people to understand that we do recognize the serious implications of it.
Right.
And where it has been demonstrated, the research that they've done in Israel, you talk about pain management. There's also post-traumatic stress disorder,
Right.
the treatment of glaucoma, which we have so many persons in the territory who suffer from it. But one of the things that people also point out, and I think you might have touched on it last night, is the social justice component.
Oh, man.
That all of a sudden we're poised with this crop to make money for a lot of people and for the government, and people have been in jail and have had their lives ruined because of marijuana convictions. And so we really have to see that is addressed as well.
And you and I met with the Rastafarian community
Yes.
in terms of the ritualistic rites assigned to cannabis through their faith that they have really been persecuted for over the years.
That's right.
And the thing is about, to me, going to jail, even if you go to jail for 2 years on a cannabis or marijuana charge, right? For the rest of your life, you're a felon.
Marked with it. That's
Yeah.
right. That's
I mean, that's a heavy burden. You can't get public housing, you can't get certain types of aid and whatnot. You're just constantly burdened by having that. So the bill that we propose addresses all of that and allows people to get forgiven for the stuff that they did before cannabis was legal. The revenue thing is one thing, but I just think we're a tourism destination. We need to get with it. We just
Many
been
of
left
them.
behind.
Okay. Well, one of the things, thank you for that. One of the things we've also done is to look at where persons have posed questions. And we've taken a few of those questions, and we're going to share a few now. So one of them, and I'm reading it word for word, some senators say you're only talking about federal money. How are you bringing in local money, and what are you doing with it?
Some senators need to pay a lot more attention. The last thing I said in the entire speech was we paid out $150 million in retro pay, taxes, 8%, and paying the National Guard, totally out of general fund monies with zero money borrowed. The other thing that is very disingenuous to say when they say that is, we gave them $20 million to do roads. We said, I went down there and I said, listen, here's $20 million. You guys pick the roads that you want paved. That was local money too.
That was local.
So what the thing about is $839 million in revenue that when I talked about the increase year over year of almost 30% more than 2018, that's local dollars.
Yeah.
So I really wonder sometimes if they pay attention to what is being said. And then the lack of details was another statement last night. When you don't have anything to say, you just say what you hear other people say. So,
Okay. Well, that wasn't a part of the question.
I know I have to put in. And again, my feelings a little bit every once in a while.
Well, we're all entitled. We all have feelings. So here's another one. What are the plans to spruce up downtown areas? Because they reference our towns. Frederickstead, they reference Christianstead, they reference Charlotte Amalia, and they're historic buildings and other structures that are in disrepair. We know some of the problems. Some of the buildings are in probate, and there are other related issues. Any thoughts on the caller's question about that?
So another thing we didn't talk about last night is JP Oriole has a program with $10 million for historic site renovation. They have over 100 applications that they're processing to give out grant money to help people restore churches, old building, and whatnot. I know what people really want is the meat of it is all of these dilapidated, abandoned buildings that are in probate. We have a plan for that, but I think the people need to move the plan forward because no one trusts the government. The first thing they're going to say is the government is trying to take over. And the plan basically entails that instead, so let's say the Roach family had 200 descendants and they owned the house and they couldn't get it out of probate. Over the years, you just keep getting more and more cousins who are involved. So what we do is we set up a state account for the Roach family, right? We take the house by eminent domain. It stays within the estate. A developer then fixes the house, fixes it up. There's a reasonable rate of profit that they make on their money and get on their return. And at the end of the term, the house reverts back to the family. It's already complete. The developer would have a strict level of maintenance requirements, so you don't give the people back an old building. And in that time, if the family settles out of probate, they always have the ability to pay out the developer. Now, in a lot of cases, the developer can be the government, because we have enough cash now to buy up all those buildings in town and really start to turn them into housing for young people or older people. But housing in our downtowns, we could turn them into Airbnbs, which will bring a lot of traffic and attention downtown. We're working on some projects like that now, where we're putting, encouraging more Airbnb activity in our downtowns. Especially, I'm really concerned about, as usual, Frederick said, about Savan, Upstreet. We're expanding the enterprise zone further in St. Thomas. Specifically, they want it in St. John too, but St. John does really good on real estate. I don't know if they need tax benefits, but lots of stuff to be done downtown, but a lot of trust issues in terms of the government taking over people's property.
And St. John, you'll probably hear from the local people that is necessary.
Because you have the same issue with remember the printing of the tax roll, which is required by law, but people got really nervous about
what would happen next.
Yeah, what would happen next. So I think it needs to come from a community of, I've been talking to community organizations like Our Town, Frederick said, that they need to bring the legislation forward so it doesn't look like it's the government doing it. It's the people who are asking for this to be done, because we're investing a lot of money in our downtowns.
Definitely trust issues that we have to build on. Okay, thank you. And so here's another one. The caller says that we say a lot about people who work for the government of the Virgin Islands, but what about the people who do not? And what about the people employed in the private sector? They need health insurance, they need stimulus as well. So share a little.
So that's one of the things that's one of my pet peeves, because when, the 4 years when I was not in office, the private sector is very exciting, but I saw the shortcomings there, the health insurance. So we've done a lot to start up the associative health plans. We talked about it last year, where organizations like the Chamber of Commerce can actually get health plans that service all of their members collectively. We finally have a vendor here doing it now. I think it's Elon is the name. I saw a big advertisement today in the paper so that business owners can get it. We want to get more providers in so people have choice. And then the premium pay was caused a lot of conversation in the community. Premium pay is the ability for us to pay people who actually worked during the pandemic when we were shut down and had to engage with customers. We're prohibited from paying more than 150% of the median income, which is about $65,000. If you make more than that, we can't, by law, by the federal government, we can't give you. So this is an opportunity I saw for all those people that we think about, the grocery workers, the bank tellers, the people who deliver your mails, the people who work in labor with the unemployment, all those people who make less than that, giving them a little something. We used to call them the lunch ladies, but the cafeteria workers, there are bus drivers, so a lot of people who came out and did work during that period. So I'm constantly getting the question, Governor, do I qualify? Somebody told me I don't qualify. The reality is if you make less than $65,000, we're going to be doing a thorough search, asking the employers to verify these people work for you and they were doing this during the pandemic, and we're going to get you paid. But that's going to be more so around the summer, because we got to do it in pieces and we got to make sure we don't leave anybody out, because sometimes doing things like that, you get more cost than good. The other people who didn't get the money are angry, but it's a federal government provision. We don't have to do it, but we think it's a good way to help people get a little leg up and to reward them for really serving our community, and it's our deepest need.
And you reference Elon. It was a company that was recently licensed by us. And I just wanted to add to that part of the conversation that's why the things like our accreditation are so important. Because what we want are also more companies coming to the territory and more health insurance products in general, particularly the individual health policy. Now, the last question that I have here really asks about property taxes and auctions. And we're not at the point of auctioning anybody's property. We're at the point of cleaning up the list, removing people's names who have come forward and paid their taxes, those who have entered into payment plans with the tax collector. The response has been great. We still have those people who are behind, but we've really been working with people to do it.
You've been doing a good job collecting too, you know. Your team has really been adding to the coffers of the government. We appreciate that.
Yeah, well, I really want to thank them. And then, you know, we're waiting for the HUD funding, Community Development Block Grant funding that will take the street addressing initiative to the third, to that phase now where we map the entire territory, having completed all of the historic towns. So that is going to be exciting as well.
Oh, that's great.
We're going to start wrapping up, so I'm going to ask you for any closing thoughts you want to share with the audience this evening.
Well, first I want to say it was great. You know, when we get together, we always have such a great conversation. But with the audience, I think the main thing is to really see the opportunity. I'll close like how I closed last night. You know, we could be cynical and we could be pessimistic and miss all of these opportunities, but there's a real opportunity for you to improve yourself, for you to improve your livelihood, for you to change your economic picture, and those of your children, which is the most important, whether it's education, healthcare, mental health. You know, this team is working hard to make sure that we're providing the quality of life for you that every single American has access to. And, you know, we were not going to stop working. I think it's been an incredible 3 years. Like I said, accomplishment after accomplishment. But there's still a lot of work to be done. And a lot of that work is in our social space, you know, helping people to get up. Because sometimes, you know, the last 5 years of beatdown with COVID and the hurricanes, it's heavy on the mind. And you see people and they just look so weary. And you wonder sometimes, it's just life. And I'm looking forward, it sounds silly, but I'm really looking forward to getting a carnival, one of them, back up, so people could have a chance to blow off some steam.
Good. So our next show will be a carnival show.
Yeah.
We'll have some costumes and some drinks as well, right?
Mostly drinks.
So thank you,
you
for being here. And I want to thank you for joining us. Again, you've patronized the program. 200,000 views in the last 2 seasons, and we're really grateful that you've taken the time to join us in this conversation. They've asked me to let you know that tomorrow at 6 p.m. Inside the Cabinet will air, and please join us for that as well. Thank you so very much. Enjoy your evening. God bless each and every one of you. God bless the Virgin Islands.